Learn English through stories. Intermediate English. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. In a quiet valley where shadows whisper and ghostly tales never die, one schoolmaster's fate was sealed by fear. Retold in slow, clear English for intermediate learners. Listen and read along to this classic Halloween story and improve your English as you go. Don't just study English, live it through stories. The Haunted Valley. In the quiet, secluded glen of Sleepy Hollow, the trees whisper old secrets and the air hums with ghostly tales. It was a place of deep slumber and strange dreams, where folk were prone to believe in the supernatural. Into this sleepy valley, in the year 1790, came a most unusual man to be the new schoolmaster. The strange schoolmaster. His name was Ichabod Crane, and he was as tall and awkward as a scarecrow. He had huge ears, big green eyes, and a long, pointy nose. Though he was the schoolmaster, he was a superstitious man, filled with a deep belief in ghosts and goblins, which he had read about in his favorite books. Ghost Without a Head. The most famous ghost in all of Sleepy Hollow was the Headless Horseman. He was said to be the ghost of a Hessian soldier whose head had been shot off by a cannonball in the Revolutionary War. Every night, he would ride forth from the churchyard, searching for his lost head before vanishing at dawn. The farmer's beautiful daughter. In this valley lived the lovely Katrina Van Tassel, the only child of a wealthy Dutch farmer. She was known throughout the countryside for her beauty, her charm, and the vast fortune she would one day inherit. All the young men in the area hoped to win her heart and her hand in marriage. Dreams of love and wealth. Ichabod Crane was immediately smitten with Katrina. He dreamed not only of her beauty, but of the rich farmland and bountiful feast that would be his if he could marry her. He began to visit her often at her father's farm, using his position as her schoolmaster as an excuse to court her. The county's hero. But Ichabod was not without a rival. The hero of the county was a strong, boisterous young man named Abraham Van Brunt, but everyone called him Brom Bones. He was famous for his skill in horsemanship and his love of a good time. He was handsome, powerful, and used to getting whatever he wanted. Jealous rivalry. Brom Bones had long considered Katrina to be his sweetheart. When he saw the lanky schoolmaster trying to win her affection, he grew very jealous. He was not a man to fight his rival openly, but instead chose to play a series of pranks and tricks on the nervous and superstitious Ichabod Crane. Cruel tricks in the night. Brom and his gang of friends would often play tricks on the schoolmaster. They would stop up the chimney of the schoolhouse, filling the room with smoke. They would also break into the school at night and turn everything upside down, making Ichabod believe that witches had held a meeting there. Invitation to the party. One autumn afternoon, a messenger arrived at the schoolhouse with an invitation for Ichabod. He was invited to attend a great harvest party at the Van Tassel farm that very evening. Ichabod was overjoyed. He saw this as his golden opportunity to win Katrina's heart once and for all. The harvest feast. Ichabod borrowed a tired old horse named Gunpowder and arrived at the party. The Van Tassel home was filled with music, laughter, and the most delicious food he had ever seen. There were pies, cakes, and roasted meats piled high on every table. Ichabod ate and drank with great delight. Dance of Desire. The highlight of the evening for Ichabod was dancing with Katrina. He felt as though he were floating on air as they spun around the room. He was sure that he was winning her over, especially when he saw the jealous glares coming from Brom Bones across the room. Brom's burning jealousy. Brom Bones sat in a corner with his friends, watching Ichabod and Katrina with a scowl on his face. He was not used to being ignored, especially by Katrina. He muttered to his friends and plotted how he could get his revenge on the schoolmaster for stealing his dance partner. Whispers of ghosts. As the night grew later, the guests gathered around the fire to tell ghost stories. The room grew quiet as they shared tales of the strange sights and sounds of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod listened with a mix of fear and fascination, his superstitious heart believing every word that was spoken. Brom's ghostly tale. The most popular stories were, of course, about the Headless Horseman. Brom Bones told a thrilling tale of his own encounter with the ghost, claiming he had raced the phantom and would have beaten him if the horseman hadn't vanished in a flash of fire and brimstone at the church bridge. Hopes shattered. When the party ended, Ichabod lingered behind, hoping for a private moment with Katrina to secure her affections. But their conversation was short and disappointing. With a heavy heart, Ichabod realized his dreams of marrying the wealthy heiress were not to be. He left the farm feeling sad and defeated. The dark ride. Dejected, Ichabod mounted his old horse Gunpowder and began the long, lonely journey home. The night was dark and silent. The stories he had heard at the party now filled his mind, and every shadow seemed to hold a ghostly figure. His heart pounded with a growing sense of dread. Shadows at the tree. He rode past the old gnarled tree where a British spy had been captured during the war. He thought he heard a groan and urged Gunpowder to go faster. Every rustle of the leaves, every hoot of an owl sent a shiver of fear down his spine. He was certain he was not alone. The rider appears. Suddenly, he heard the heavy sound of hoofbeats behind him. He peered into the darkness and saw a large, shadowy figure on a powerful black horse, silently following him. Ichabod's blood ran cold. He kicked Gunpowder, trying to flee, but the dark rider easily kept pace with him. Horror revealed. As the rider drew closer, Ichabod saw with horror that the figure carried a glowing, fiery pumpkin held high like a dreadful head. Its light flickered across the dark road, casting wild shadows that made the horseman seem larger than life. The sight froze him with terror. It was the Headless Horseman, and he was right behind him. The deadly chase. A frantic chase began. Ichabod dug his heels into Gunpowder's sides, screaming in terror as he raced through the woods. The old horse had never moved so fast in his life, but the horseman's black steed was faster, and the thundering of its hooves grew louder and closer with every step. Relentless pursuit. The Headless Horseman was relentless in his pursuit. He stayed right behind Ichabod, making no sound, which only made the chase more terrifying. Ichabod could feel the heat from the phantom's fiery head, and knew he could not escape for much longer. His only hope was to reach the church bridge. The Bridge of Hope. According to the legends, the Headless Horseman could not cross the bridge at the old church. It was his boundary. As they thundered towards it, Ichabod gave one last desperate kick. He made it across the bridge and dared to look back, thinking he was finally safe from the ghostly rider. The fiery pumpkin attack. The horseman rose in his stirrups and lifted the blazing pumpkin high above his head. With terrible force he hurled it straight at Ichabod. The fiery missile struck hard, knocking Ichabod from the saddle. Horse and rider tumbled apart into the darkness as the chase ended in fear and ruin. Vanished without a trace. The next morning, Ichabod Crane was gone. All that was found near the bridge was his horse, his saddle, his hat, and a mysterious, shattered pumpkin. The old folks of Sleepy Hollow said the Headless Horseman had carried him away. Soon after, Brom Bones married Katrina, and he always laughed whenever the story was told. What do you think? The tale of Sleepy Hollow shows how fear and imagination can overpower reason. Ichabod's downfall came not from a ghost, but from the power he gave his own fears. For generations, people have argued about his fate. What do you think really happened to him? Was it truly a ghost, or only Brom's clever trick? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more fun English lessons.